One second here. So a lot of people that come to these wellness summits have probably at least heard of energy healing, but maybe not everybody's really familiar. And we could talk about this subject for a year and still not be done with it. So I wanted to give you just a little bit of the basics of some energy healing, what it is, and how you can start a little bit of this on your own without even having to do a whole lot of training or anything to start. So usually when I do these presentations, I have some slides and some graphics and some photos, but we don't need to worry about any of that here. I didn't want to give you any distraction than just kind of listening, coming into your body and starting to think about some of these new ideas. So the energy medicine topics, I'll give you a few examples of, just so you can wrap your head around what we're talking about. We're going to be saying words like electromagnetism. That might be a new one for some people. Sound healing, vibration, chi energy, Reiki healing, crystal healing, therapeutic touch, acupuncture and acupressure, tapping, otherwise known as EFT, intuitive healing, and there's even more. That's a list of some of the most common ones. And I bet you recognized at least a few words in there. It's not important that you need to remember those. We really want to focus on opening your horizons and giving you an idea of what's out there. And the Brightly Well is my wellness company, and everything that I teach and that we create classes and coursework for is all around this mindful living, natural healing, and consciousness development. So we're going to give you a really broad range of subjects here. So the next one I want to talk about specifically out of all these different types of energy healing is how we are scientifically experiencing some of these energetic interactions, especially this electromagnetism. So I want you to just understand for one moment that wherever you are, whatever you're doing right now, your body is taking in so much sensory information on every single process that's going on in your body. So you have the temperature of the room, the light in the room is creating hormone pathways. We have things like the scent in the air could be giving your entire system a big boost when you walk in a room and dinner's cooking and you're hungry. What happens? You could start to salivate. You could start to get rumbling in your stomach. All of the hormonal and biochemical processes in our body are based on these different stimuli we have, but we're not aware of it. We are in this bliss of not having to make sure we record every little thing that's going on in our environment. That makes it easy so we can do other things. Otherwise, we would have to be tracking everything in a grid and noting every moment of when to think about when we should breathe and when we should get hungry and when we should get up and move. So when we say electromagnetism, I want you to imagine all of these different signals in every cell of your body from inside out to your skin, sending each other information. The way they send this information is through electrical impulses. These are sent through your nervous system and transmit from cell to cell. Everything needs an electrical impulse. And if you think about something like high school chemistry class, when you're learning about salt and potassium and water and minerals, the electromagnetism current, it's a current that's traveling through the water in your cells, but it doesn't travel unless you have these minerals because they're conductors of this electricity. Now, if you think about that in the big picture, you are an entire electrical being, and that's going to give you this energy that can be harnessed for other things. The actual electromagnetic field is a field of vibration, and these vibrations cause movement of this electrical current. And one example is your heart. Your heart has the biggest electromagnetic field in your entire body. Every organ has its own electromagnetic field that can be measured. The heart's electromagnetic field spreads 3 feet around your body in every direction. And that's just what can be tested now. And we expect to see some really cool studies showing that it can extend even 20 feet or more outside the body. This is just the measurable electrical current of the heart traveling outside of itself. So when you think about the heart and how it has this electrical current, it has this potential and this ability to change how our body reacts. And in between every single heartbeat, your brain, your organs, your heart, your thoughts and emotions all do a check-in with each other and make hormones and biochemical ingredients for different body processes based on the state in between every single heartbeat. So that's going to give us this potential to bring in something important that I just mentioned, was that our thoughts and emotions can actually change the chemicals sent out by the heart between each beat. That's really beautiful. And just to give you an example of that, we think of an emotion like being in love or feeling lots of love towards something. We may literally feel a warming sensation in our chest. Our blood vessels are getting a signal to relax. Our blood pressure goes down. And that is a process, biological process we changed and created with our thoughts. So the main energy healing topic I wanted to bring to you guys tonight is something called chi energy. And just by a show of hands, has anybody heard of chi energy before? I see a bunch of them. I see a bunch. Okay, so chi energy is something that has been one of the oldest energy manipulation practices, and it's also known as prana, or life force energy. Oh, we have an intruder. This life force energy is something that we can detect in ourselves and in other people. Oh, we might have a light going down here in a second. So I want to give you guys a little exercise to get in touch with your own chi energy. Is everybody ready to try this out? Okay, so just take one moment to just come back into your body. You may have heard a lot of interesting things, been thinking about them a bit. Just take a moment, take a couple cleansing breaths, and come back from your head into your body. And I want you to just feel some awareness. And I want you to bring that awareness into your hands. You can rub them together a little bit. Some people like to kind of rub their hands. All right, so this is the way we start to bring this subtle awareness to our chi energy. We're just gonna bring our hands, and you can close your eyes if it helps. We're gonna bring our hands together slowly. And I want you to just try and feel when you can sense the other hand. Right? You might feel the warmth of your other hand. You might feel a little tingling or buzzing. And when you start to feel it, I want you to try, don't come all the way together, just get really close. But I want you to start to feel a little bit of pressure, a little bit of bounce back in between these hands. Okay, this is cultivating the chi energy. You're starting to feel it. And if you can't feel anything right now, don't feel bad, because this took me a long time to do. This took me many, many tries. I had to sit there looking and feeling pretty foolish for quite a bit before I really started to feel this. And if you are feeling it already, you can kind of pull it out and stretch it. And the subtle energy that you're trying to feel for is anything from just a little bit of warmth, just a little bit of pressure. Some people may feel it in their fingertips. Others may feel it more in the center of their palm. So if you are feeling this, I have practiced this quite a bit. So I'm feeling, it feels almost like rubber in between my two hands. You can start to bring your hands out and back in slowly. until that field of pressure gets a little bigger and a little bigger. And for me, I'm bringing intention and thought into my hands so much that they're actually starting to pulse. So just my thought has changed my electromagnetic current to bring blood flow to my hands. So you can just keep moving it like that. You can even try forming it a little circle or a ball shape. Now, you don't have to do anything past this. Just the art of the subtle observation of this energy is a great first step. But what we're practicing is just feeling for something we hadn't felt before. And kind of move it around. You can imagine it like a little ping pong ball jumping from one center of the palm to the other. And if you're having trouble, I found that a position where you're holding, I'm going to do it just like this up higher so you can see, but you're kind of making a ball shape with your hands, and you're going to move it just mid-chest area, kind of between your heart and your solar plexus. And a lot of times this is the position where people will feel their hand start to change, like really getting some tingles in their hands. So we're bringing awareness to our own life force energy by doing this. And you don't have to keep your hands together. You can actually separate your hands and bring this life force energy that's close to our skin now, and you can move it around your own body, and you can even put it on an area that's got some pain, and just bring your awareness to the chi in that area of your body, and until you start to feel it under your hand and on that particular body part. You should be able to do the same thing that you did with your other hand. And the intention is to bring this positive energy and blood flow, because blood flow is what heals. And feeling those tingles is a really great sign. All right, I'm gonna just scroll through your videos here and just give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you were able to feel something here. All right, wow. We got some maybes, and we got a bunch of thumbs ups. It does take some practice. For how easy it is for me now, this took me a long time. I worked on this for months before I could easily feel it. And hopefully my neighbors weren't watching as I was standing in the living room with the light on at night, just kind of moving things around. I hope that helps you get an idea of what energy medicine is and what it can do, and just this unlimited potential of healing that we have right at our own fingertips. Some people take this information and practice and turn it into intentional healing. And this can be blooming into many different subjects, especially things like Reiki that we're actually going to hear a little bit more about later. So thank you all for participating in that. You're welcome to send any questions or comments in the chat. And the next presenter is going to be coming on here. So I'm going to hand it over to Pandora. Let's put you in the spotlight here.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Hello, hello, and welcome. We're so excited to have you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much for having me here. I wanted to just briefly reflect on some of the things that you said. You were talking about heartwarming, and I think people know that feeling of, and your dog came in like, hey, yes, we bring you joy and healing. I also have felt sometimes before my clients come to me, and they've corroborated this, is that sometimes people feel heartbreaking sensations, or heart crying sensations. So there's a lot that we can do to begin to listen to our bodies when we become aware of our energy. That becomes very helpful because we can then take better care of ourselves with herbs, and just with self-awareness, and so I wanted to mention that. Also, studies are now beginning to show that there's actually activity energetically on the outside of our brains, the same way that they've discovered that the energy around the heart is measurable scientifically. They're seeing activity around our bodies on the outside of our brains. So that's a really interesting sort of scientific thing that's happening that sort of verifies what a lot of people have thought in terms of like the collective consciousness, or we have the symbology of the tree of wisdom, the tree of life, which has oftentimes, to really get more esoteric, the Akashic records. So in a lot of traditions, it is believed that there is a collective mind, and that we can tap into with our higher wisdom or ourselves on a deeper level through that. So anyway, that's a little heady, but I thought I'd mention that. You also talked about vibration. And we know that the universe, the cosmos, are actually we can listen to sounds produced in space. We know that everything is vibrating, and so everything is moving, but also everything makes music. And so they've been able, with scientific tools, they've been able to actually listen to sounds of plants, and sounds of stars, and sounds in space. So it makes so much sense that dance and music have been so much a part of our spiritual traditions over the world. And we don't have many in America that are, we go night clubbing, but we don't do a lot of dancing together for the purpose of ritual or healing. But on a personal level, incorporating any form of movement and any form of sound making, whether it's tuning or chanting or singing to yourself in the shower or in the car, is actually a self-healing, self-soothing mechanism, and it de-stresses us. So I'm going to talk about some specific herbs and practices that you can use to, unwind, relax your system, and get yourself out of the fight, flight, or freeze response that we get when we're stressed out. So going back to our self-soothing mechanisms, I think a lot of times we quiet babies and we quiet children when they're singing or making self-soothing sounds, and we sort of learn to do that to ourselves, and we sort of lose play, our own sense of play, as we get older. And sometimes parenting can remind us, or being around children can remind us, oh yeah, this is a natural part of ourselves that we need to remember. Our inner child needs that. So I think that's, an important thing to remember, because if you make up little songs or let yourself sigh in silly ways, it's a great stress relief. It's a great stress relief to sing and let your in terms of chakras, your communication chakra be free. One thing when we were doing the hand exercise is that I find that if I start with my first chakra and if I kegel, I start to bring up energy, my Kundalini life force energy from the earth. So that's, a lot of pregnant women get coursed in kegeling, but it is a really good, helpful tool to move energy. And when we move energy, we help release blocks and stagnation, which can cause us to lose self-awareness, and then we can get caught up in thoughts and worries more than being in the present moment. So when we clear our energy, we can begin to be more present. So, grounding into the present moment is really often grounding into plants and our plant allies and our bodies, because we can live so much up in our heads. So the thing about stress is that it can cause the stress chemicals cause homocysteine in the body, which is actually the same thing that's found in pollution. So it's like we're actually polluting our body. So we owe it to ourselves to be good to ourselves and reduce stress. So things that bring us joy, of course, that are oftentimes good indicators. But stress can affect the adrenals, which can cause adrenal fatigue, which can cause endocrine imbalances, over time, thyroid issues. It can affect our emotional well-being by affecting our thyroid and our hormones. And so coming into balance is, is an important thing to always be doing, especially at this time, being present and developing healthy habits of self-care. So stress can also be increased by inflammatory foods, stimulants, poor sleep, dehydration, energy depletion, like habitual, can just be a vicious cycle. So I wanted to say that one of the first ways to ground in and connect with our plant allies is to actually grow plants, whether they're in your window and it's just a couple of them or a few of them that you can consume, that you eat, or that you enjoy the aroma of, or whether you're going to get outside and get into the dirt and get those really good microorganisms into your body, because the dirt is actually full of good stuff for our microbiome and our bacterial balance. So there's lots of things that you can plant that grow really easily. So this peppermint is one of them. I think peppermint is really helpful in terms of lightening the spirit. It can help to increase heat and reduce a fever in a very gentle, mild way if it's a low grade temperature. It's really, really good with other herbs. So I recently discovered, and I've worked with hundreds of herbs and make products with hundreds of herbs, but this is new to me, and it is, I don't know if you can tell how blue and purple it is, but it's butterfly pea flower from Thailand. It's organic, and it is a natural nervine tonic. So it actually tonifies the nervous system, and it tonifies, and it's a sedative, it's antispasmodic, and so it's very mildly a sedative. So like sage, it's relaxing. It won't put you to sleep unless you're already really tired and in need of sleep. But this is butterfly pea, and it goes really good, and it is used in Thailand and other Asian countries with spearmint or peppermint or lemon. And if you put a ton of that in it, it turns it from blue to purple. So I put a ton of peppermint and lemon balm in there, and it turned it purple, which I just think is fun. It's fun to experiment with pigments, and we know that they're good for us. So this is lemon balm. I picked it an hour ago, so it's a little droopy, but another plant that grows with you doing almost nothing to the ground. It's been used for ADD, for attention issues. It's calming and nutritive, so it's great for the adrenals, and it's just a really lovely aromatic plant. You need to chop it up before you infuse it because the volatile oils need to be released, or it just doesn't taste like anything. I once interviewed Susan Weed, and she's been an herbalist for 40 years or more. And she laughed at me when I told her that I infused nettle and lemon balm for like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. She was like, it has to be at least an hour or 2 hours to get any of to get the most from the minerals. And so, I think a lot of times people try tea and they just think, oh, this is so weak and silly. Like they try peppermint, and it's just a little bag, and it's infused for a couple minutes, and it just doesn't taste as strong. So I highly recommend breaking open those tea bags and put like 3 of them into a cup, and then see how you feel, because it makes a huge difference. I also wanted to talk about, things that we kind of neglect because they can be, like symbols of things in our culture. Well, sage can be, oh, cheesy sage. Sage is remarkable not only in clearing energetically, but it really does clear the air in terms of bacteria and viruses in the house. And more importantly, it's a sedative. And so it relaxes us to the point of allowing us to either be kind of spacey and in a dreamy state that can get us ready for sleep or meditation, to sort of welcome in our higher wisdom and get clarity and outside of the patterns of thought that can become habitual and worried thoughts, for example. And it also just allows us to breathe deeply and step into ourselves. So copal is another one that you may be familiar with. This is just a piece of wood, piece of bark, and it is another one that's like frankincense or myrrh or sandalwood that helps us get into deep, like creative, relaxing spaces. St. John's wort is known by many. It grows native to Europe and has and grows all over as a weed, and it has these beautiful yellow flowers, and you can actually pick them one by one the same way that you would borage or dandelion. Put them in a little bit of olive oil in your window, and then just infuse them for a week or two, and then you've got yourself an oil. So the tinctures are much stronger, made with alcohol. You can make them yourself if you steep the leaves and flowers for 6 weeks. But I won't go into that in any more depth than that. But you wouldn't want to take it with any medications that have MAO inhibitors. Physically, it's used externally for bruises. And I found the same way that Bach flowers work, that it's very healing to the heart. So I did want to mention, because many people are familiar with calendula, I made this calendula oil with olive oil April 18th. And there's a spiritual, emotional component as well as a physical one. Calendula is anti-inflammatory. It's an emollient, so it's really good externally to heal the skin, but it's also taken internally, like this would be an oil, but you can use it in tea for arthritic conditions, or just to lighten your mood. I did something that I haven't ever done before, which is I started collecting dandelion flowers, and they dry really lovely and easily. I'm working on creating some dandelion wine, because if I'm going to drink it, has to be medicinal. So that's a project that I've been working on. But I'm talking about these herbs because I'm an herbalist, but I wanted to talk about them in terms of stress relief, because they not only have a physiological component, they're so easy to take in tincture, pill capsule form. There's so many adaptogenic herbs that you can take no matter what your medications are, but you have to do the research or talk to an herbalist and get some advice, or both, right? But they really help to ground us into the earth, to connect us with the sunlight, the birds, the peepers, and really help us feel connected to the natural world. Because when we feel alienated from it, or isolated from it, or so caught up in our heads and our thoughts or worries, we're not able to see the perfection in everything, and see the beauty in the way that our lives unfold. And I think that the more we tune into nature, the more that we connect to synchronicity, to plants, to animals. And we might start to get familiar with a hawk in our neighborhood, or some crows, or bluebirds, blue jays, bunnies. It's just So when we start cultivating the plants, we really get that. And also, fresh food and fresh medicine, incorporating pigments like cherries, which are purpley red, and raspberries and things, and not just being like, I'm just gonna, do the basics, like just let ourselves just, get everything that we're drawn to, because many times what we are drawn to is really healthy for us. For years, people knew that cherries were good for lumbago, which is an old term for back pain. But one of the things that they do is help to move the intestines. And it's hard if we have sluggish bowels to have the energy flowing. So that can be stressful too. So there's things like that. And, we can take our kids on walks. Wintergreen oil can be made and used. It smells amazingly minty, and you can use it in household cleaners and disinfectants and hand sanitizers. I used orange peels to make this. I used Everclear and distilled water. Everclear. But you can use vodka for that, and then add it to your household cleaning products, which will not cause the buildup of any chemicals in your body, and it'll just be a happy, healthy way to clean your house and have an aromatic experience. And then one last thing I wanted to mention was essential oils do a lot for us. We can bathe with them. We can put them on externally in oil carriers like almond or shea butter or jojoba oil, many more. And just something simple like a little vial full of jasmine can be really relaxing, can bring us into a very still, peaceful place. So thank you for letting me be here with you, and I hope I didn't speed along too much, and that you got something out of that.
That was really wonderful, Pandora. Thank you so much. That was wonderful. My head is spinning with so many fun ideas and lots of greatness that came out of that. I'm going to go ahead, everybody, I'm going to take you off of mute. And I would love for you all just to give Pandora a nice little round of applause. So thank you so much. All right. Thank you. Thank you. You guys can ask questions. You're all unmuted at the moment, or you can throw them in the chat. But I just want to come back to that very last point you made with the cleaning products. I'm sure you guys know cleaning products have a lot of chemicals and toxins in them, but these natural cleaning products were really fun to see, a lot of those things you were making, and there's still up around 99% of germs being killed from them. So you can save so much money on cleaners. You can save on plastic containers, reuse the same one and just keep filling it. So those are really cool things to try. You guys can Google the heck out of that if you want to, or ask Pandora for her sweet sauce recipe. Yeah, that was great. And I know I really enjoyed seeing a lot of those things. Could you hold up the tea, the blue tea real quick, and tell us the name of that one more time?
Yes, this is butterfly pea flower.
Butterfly pea flower.
Yes.
I think I've seen that used on something like Chopped, or a cooking show where they turned pasta blue. Is that the same thing?
Yes,
okay.
It is, yeah.
I had been looking for a reason to get that, but I didn't even know. Oh, I sent that. I'm sorry, I sent someone a personal message of what that was, the butterfly pea flower. Sorry about that. That was meant to go for everybody. Sorry, Christine. That's really nice to know that that's a very relaxing tea, and that it goes really nicely with mint, because I'm always looking for new interesting teas, and that would be a fun one to show off to your friends too, with that beautiful color.
Yes, and there's been a ton of studies in India on it, and so there's lots of valuable research that already shows that it's kind of a panacea. So it actually has, and it's an adaptogenic, so it's kind of like, it helps to balance the 12 systems of the body, no matter where you are. Like, it has a tonifying effect on the heart and blood pressure, but it doesn't increase or decrease it across the board. It just helps each individual come into harmony. So it's kind of magical.
We love those powerhouse herbs.
Yes.
Anything that's bringing in the whole body balancing is one that I would say is a superfood for sure.
Yes.
And that's great that you can mix it with such a yummy tea like mint.
Yes.
Oh, beautiful. Well, thank you so much. I learned a lot, and I was very engaged in all these different practices. I would love to learn how you made some of those, and definitely catch up some more on these great herbal remedies and products. So you guys can continue to ask questions, but Pandora, if you'd like, after we switch presenters here, you can drop your email or website or anything that you'd like right into that chat. And then you guys can see how you can get in touch with Pandora. And, you know, services will be opening up shortly on the Cape here. So you just ask her when she's going to be ready, when things are happening, because everyone's doing things a little bit different. Kathleen, did you have a question?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I can.
Where can I buy the calendula to put in the tea?
Yeah. I recommend Mountain Rose Herbs, but locally. I don't think Stefan from Great Cape Herbs has it yet, but he probably will have it at some point, but it might be another couple of months.
Could you repeat that? The second one where?
Sure. So there's Great Cape Herbs, which is local, but I think it'll be a while before he has it, if he does.
Okay.
Sure. I make my own herbal formulas, so but you know, I'm kind of taking a break on them, but I've been formulating for 15 years. I've been an herbalist for 18. So I have a lot of delicious formulas, and I also do specialty teas. So that'll be, you know, pretty soon. Pretty soon for you?
Pretty
soon, yeah. Just keep in touch. And I have a newsletter, actually. So if you want to get on my newsletter email list, then just give me your information or take mine. You can, I'm just going to give my email right now. It's ptpandora@yahoo.com. I'm putting up a new website, so mine's down right now, but it's ptpandora@yahoo.com.
PT, P as in PT, okay.
P as in peach, as in Georgia peach.
Okay.
And sorry, I was typing your email, PG as in green.
No, it's peachy as in the tree, peach tree.
Oh, okay.
As in Georgia peach.
peachypandora@gmail, you said?
It's Yahoo.
Oh, Yahoo. Okay, that is right up in the notes there. Also, I believe Matt's Organic Farm in Dennis will be open this year. I'm not 100% sure, but I did hear. And he usually does have calendula plants that you could buy. You would have to go through the steps, but I try to plant a little bit of calendula each year, and they're really good buddies with tomatoes. So if you want to DIY that project, you can stop by Matt's Organic Farm as well.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Pandora. That was really fun and great question, Kathleen. I bet other people were wondering about that too.
So I'm sorry, was that M-A-T-T, Matt?
Yep, Matt's Organic Farm.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Sure. Okay. Thank you so much again, Pandora. I'm going to hand the floor over to Manny here.
Hello.
Hello and welcome.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to have you here. And if you guys have not met Manny or heard of Manny before, he's got a lot of talents. And I met him through the space in Dennis, where he was doing some wonderful restorative yoga. And I'm not sure if you still are doing that, but if you're interested in that, it was really enjoyable. I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody, and then I'll unmute you again in just a moment. Okay, and you're welcome to tell us about any of the things you're working on right now, even meditations and things like that. So take it away, Manny.
Thank you, Lauren, and it's a pleasure to be here. I'm very grateful. So yes, I'm still teaching at the space. Jen and I do a weekly kind of we call it Yoga Mind, where she goes over like the limbs of yoga, and I usually lead a guided practice, and that's every Sunday at 9:30, and it's on the website. And there's a Zoom link on the website, and it's free for all, whoever likes to join. I'm also teaching at Evoke for veterans, restorative, but obviously since the lockdown, that's been on pause, and all of my teachings, live teachings, have been on pause. So everything's through Zoom or on YouTube. I have a YouTube page, and it's just Manny Marrero on YouTube, and the page will come right up. I upload a weekly meditation practice. So. And in my full time, I work at Cape Cod Hospital in an acute outpatient mental health program. I've been there for about 6 years. It's called the partial hospitalization program. It's one step under a locked psych unit. And my role there as an occupational therapist is simply to kind of bridge the gap between individuals functioning and, you know, the symptoms, their mental health symptoms getting in the way, whether that's from trauma, depression, anxiety, schizophrenia. I don't focus too much on diagnosis. What I focus on is their, you know, what's meaningful to them, what brings them joy, what brings them meaning in life, and what is it that's getting in the way, and how can we bridge that gap. So love my role there as an OT, and I've been there for about 6 years. And it's a wonderful place. I met some great people there. So what brought me to speaking on this today, which is mindfulness, emotional intelligence, and how that relates to resilience, was my own personal journey and my own traumatic experiences. I served 8 years in the Marine Corps, which I joined right out of high school. Graduated in 2001 from Pittsfield, Massachusetts, to Taconic High School. That's in Western Mass in the Berkshires. So graduated high school in 2001, grew up very poor to a single mother who struggled with bipolar herself. And I struggled through school my whole childhood, and all sorts of issues, and barely graduated high school. So one of my only options really to get ready to go to college and to get some funds to go to college and just to get myself prepared was to kind of look into the military. And the Marine recruiter was very he sold it really well, put it that way. And needless to say, I found myself signing on the dotted line, and left for boot camp shortly after graduation in 2001. And coincidentally, my first day of boot camp was 9/11, 2001, which was, I thought it was some sort of drill that, you know, this place was putting on, because it was just surreal. So needless to say they trained us as hard as you could train any recruit at that time. And they gave us a warning that ended up coming to life, was that most likely you guys will be the first Marines that graduate from here that are going to war in the better part of a decade or so. So, and we were deployed about 18 months later. So I served 2 tours in Iraq. Experienced some pretty hardcore trauma, and all that happened in the span of 4 years. So 2 tours in Iraq, 9/11 on my first day of boot camp. Then at the age of 22, I found myself out of the military, trying to figure my life out, experience all sorts of trauma, not only childhood stuff, but now war trauma twice over, super complex. So I was a lost soul, and wasn't in touch with my emotions whatsoever. I was taught to kind of suppress all of my emotions, and that almost actually ended up killing me. It was a pretty awful time in my life. And then I found a Zen Buddhist monk by the name of Claude Anshin Thomas, who puts on these retreats for veterans. And he himself experienced extreme trauma in Vietnam. He found Thich Nhat Hanh and lived at Plum Village with him for 7 years, and was ordained under Thich Nhat Hanh. And now he helps veterans and anyone really who's experienced trauma. And what he does is he teaches the mindfulness strategies, how to meditate. And his retreat changed my life. So that's how I found mindfulness and meditation, was a 10-day, initially a 10-day silent retreat. And then from there, I've been going to his retreats yearly, and he's been one of my mentors. So that's kind of what brought me to mindfulness, kind of the cliff notes of what brought me to mindfulness, and also what allowed me to see things clearly and helped me get in touch with my emotional state, regulate my emotions, not push things away, be present for myself. And that I began to heal from there. And my resilience increased big time. So that's when I got really interested in this topic, is how does mindfulness and resilience, play a role, or I should say, how does mindfulness and emotional intelligence play a role in increasing resilience? So I presented on this topic a few years ago at the Behavioral Health Conference on Cape Cod, which is put together by one of my coworkers. It's the Behavioral Health Coalition, Diane Ofria. And I will kind of go into what I found through my research on this, and share a little bit of my personal experience if there is time. Okay, so I'd like to share this here. Am I sharing right now on my screen at all, Lauren?
No, not at the moment.
Okay.
But if you
Okay.
request, I'll
bring it right up here. I have a little slideshow prepared. Let's see. All right, can everyone see that?
Yes, that looks good.
Okay. All right, so this is one of my favorite quotes through an author by the name of George Mumford, who's a mindfulness teacher. He actually taught like Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant mindfulness, and they credit him for their success. But he says, pain brought me to mindfulness, not any desire to reach nirvana. And that is, I really resonated with this quote. And it was about unlearning certain habits and thought patterns hardwired in my brain and walking through my pain rather than avoiding it. That ultimately put me on a joyful journey of self-discovery, and I ended up growing up. And this really speaks to me, this quote, because it's really when my life started to change, when I started to really unlearn those patterns of behaviors and habits that I picked up from my time in the military and as a kid, and also really get in touch with my trauma so then I can start to heal from it, and how that was dictating my life. So this quote is really spoke to me, and I've been reading his book recently. It's a wonderful book. It's called The Mindful Athlete. And George Mumford is actually from, he grew up in Dorchester, went to UMass, and he's really good friends with John Kabat-Zinn, so he's a pretty world-renowned guy. So as far as resilience, I think we all know what that means. But this definition really made a lot of sense to me when I was researching resilience. And really it's about not only bouncing back, but bouncing forward and being transformed by your trials, tribulations, trauma, whatever it is that you are bouncing forward from. And think about things like decreasing stress, solving problems, building healthy relationships. That's truly the hallmark of resilience. And also finding meaning and purpose from what it was that caused pain and suffering in your life. And that's why I do what I do now is, in my teaching of meditation and my own practice and working in mental health, I feel like the life that I lived, I can start to give back now and be an advocate, because we need more of that, especially with men. I found that, as a man, I was taught to always suppress my emotions. And now that I'm not like shy about being in touch with them, I've heard some pretty positive feedback from other men saying that, like, hey, I noticed that you're okay with it, and it's made me kind of be more in touch with my emotions. So little by little, just trying to make differences. That's what resilience is all about. And these are the 5 factors of building resilience, and how to incorporate these into your everyday life is truly the hallmark of a resilient individual. Is meaning and purpose. And that's a daily practice for me anyway, is how do I find meaning and purpose in that day? And that kind of turns into my life, right? Perseverance, pushing through, especially these days, right? I mean, we have a lot of stress in the world happening, a lot of pain and suffering. So how do we stay on that track and persevere through these times? And also know that maybe this will pass, and there's this delayed gratification coming up here. Self-reliance, knowing that I have everything within me to get through what I've gotten through and to get through anything that's up ahead, right? Yes, with social support, but also relying on my own tools. And then equanimity, I get this from my practice. I try to find time to sit daily, and if I don't sit daily, I tune into that mindfulness practice of in the moment. If I'm doing the dishes, I'm doing the dishes. If I'm gardening, I'm gardening. I'm not thinking about the next thing I want to do. So that's how I find my equanimity, is through just being fully present, not trying to push anything away or look ahead too much. And lastly, social connection. Again, like the world right now, we are a little more disconnected than we'd like to be. But luckily, we have all these mediums now where we can connect in different ways. But by all accounts, social connection is really one of the most important parts of resilience. No one can get through it alone. So I've had a lot of wonderful people in my life that have helped me get through the things that I've been through. I have a wonderful wife who really was always by my side when I was struggling. And social connect is huge. I can do a whole thing on social connection. So let's talk a little bit about emotional intelligence now. EQ. There's a great book written on this called Emotional Intelligence. So it's really about the way I see emotional intelligence is how in touch I am with my emotions, how I react to my emotional state, and also how I respond to the emotions of others, right? So it's not just about me. It's really the basic understanding of how emotions shape my thoughts, my actions, and how I can then have a little bit of control. I put that in quotes because, I mean, do I really have control? But I do have some control of my behavior, so I can develop skills to manage that. And it's about being conscious and awake to emotional states, creating a little space between behavior and emotions, right? What I like to do with my emotions is I don't like to let my emotions dictate my behaviors, right? I sit with my emotions and I just get curious about them and go, you know, what is this about? And how can I either self-soothe right now, be with this emotion, or allow it to pass? You know, I'll share a little example. My mom passed away a couple years ago suddenly at the age of 62 from a heart attack. And the first anniversary came about, and a few days before, I just started feeling just like really sad and depressed and just kind of like not myself. And at first I was a little confused. I was like, why am I feeling this way? And then I sat with the emotion and realized, like, oh, the 1 year anniversary is coming up of my mom passing away suddenly. That's what's happening. And I was able to, you know, be kind to myself and my own emotions in that point. So to me, that's what emotional intelligence is just kind of identifying and being okay with feeling. Not always an easy thing, but it's a practice like anything else. Okay, let's see. Okay, so these are the 5 factors of EQ, emotional intelligence. It's all about self-awareness, really recognizing the emotion, being with it. How well do you manage it? We can become more skillful at managing our emotional states and being with what's present, right? Things like grumpiness, anxiety, sadness. It's important for me not to like take that out on anyone or project that onto anyone or anything, and just be with it. Self-motivation. Empathy involves your ability to notice and interpret the needs, right, of yourself and others. In my job and in my career path as an OT in mental health, empathy is one of my, I call it like a superpower, right? Because I find that just listening and lending an ear and holding space that's plenty a lot of times for people. And it's healing as well. So empathy is something that's helped me tremendously, not only in my personal life, but in my career as an OT. And managing our relationships. So how well you respond to those around you, those you love, those who are close to you, skillfully responding to their emotions, and how your emotions affect them. So it's all a give and take. So those are the 5 factors of building that EQ, but it really all starts with that self-awareness. And then I think for me, when I had the self-awareness, everything grew from there, and I started to understand myself on a deeper level. Am I going too fast for anyone? No? All right.
No, this is great. You're packing in a lot of really good stuff, and it's nice.
It is a lot. But limited time, what are you going to do, right? So how does mindfulness increase emotional intelligence? So let's kind of talk a little bit about that. It helps you become more aware, basically, right? And I think those of you that practice, this makes a lot of sense. And I'm preaching to the choir if you already practice and you're in touch with your emotions. But meditation helps you become more aware of your emotions and detach from the negative thoughts surrounding what you're noticing or what you're feeling, right? That judgment. There were times in my life where I was feeling sad or anxious or depressed, and I would call myself all sorts of names and judge myself, and that made things worse. So this mindset helps you stay calm and balanced, and it's an integral part of emotional intelligence. Meditation also helps you read the emotions of others. Really be in tune with what is happening at any given time, but not only with you, but with others as well, right? Meditation helps to increase self-understanding and awareness of other people's energy, facial expressions, and body language. And if you work in the field of mental health, as I do, this is a skill that can be very beneficial, because oftentimes people may not say much, but you can kind of notice that they really need someone to talk to. So, and it can help in relationships as well. Meditation has been shown to increase empathy. There's a lot of studies that have been done on that. And it allows us to see life without the filter of past traumas or insecurities, and it decreases judgment towards yourself and others. And that's something that started to truly change me as a person, was when I stopped seeing the world through my dark lens, from being exposed to combat. When I came back at the age of 22, I was hardened. I thought the world was a dark place. Love wasn't present for me at the time, even though it was in my environment, but I just couldn't even see it or touch it. And really, what I want to say is that, like, when you remove that filter, you start to see things clearly, and it can truly do remarkable things. And it did for me. So it's all about removing that lens. Sometimes it's clouded. All right. And I believe this is the last thing, the importance of social connection and in building resilience. So the culture in the United States tends to be a little more individualistic. There was a lot of isolation before we were quarantined. Forget about now. I mean, so now we're starting to see an uptick in cases of mental health crises at Cape Cod Hospital all around the country, because it's becoming and it is something that's an epidemic almost. Within an epidemic is the loneliness that's increasing, a lot of suicidality and depression, anxiety. So it's all about staying connected as much as we can, even though we can't physically see each other. And then Sebastian Junger he wrote a book called Tribe, where he spoke about veterans coming home and feeling isolated and disconnected from their tribe, which it was shown to increase suicidality and PTSD symptoms in veterans. But when they showed when veterans have social connection. When they have people around them that care and take them under their wing, they have less suicidality, less PTSD symptoms. They've done studies in Israel where everyone in Israel has to serve in the military, and they actually, even if they see combat, they have less cases of suicidality and PTSD because they have this collective suffering because they all served. In the United States, I think it's only like 5 to 10% of the population has ever served. A lot of veterans come back, they feel lonely, they can't relate, and it causes a great deal of issues. So it's really, it's all about that social connection. It's so huge. It can build resilience big time. Those are my references there. Okay. All right. So that's how mindfulness, emotional intelligence, and resilience all play a role.
Thank you so much, Manny.
You're welcome.
I think a lot of people will relate to that, and if not for themselves, for someone they know. And I really loved hearing about your story because we all have things that we've gone through that have forced us to learn lessons that maybe we weren't prepared to learn. And things like mindfulness can give us the tools to do this, that can set us on a path that we're actually starting to get better, instead of just swimming around looking for another solution, and getting frustrated with the system. And this whole presentation that you gave us really shows some hopeful, really positive ways people can go about managing their stress, their trauma, so that they can find that resilience place. Not that it's ever going to be a perfect place, but with tools like this, they certainly can feel more in control and a little more like themselves, sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well said. And thank you for that, Lauren, by the way. And something that made a lot of sense when I first started to practice mindfulness and meditation, and how that helped me increase my resilience was my meditation teacher said, once you start to find peace with your unpeacefulness, that's when you will start to heal, right? And it's truly not about trying to always feel happy or relaxed or zen, or try to reach enlightenment. It's about, yeah, I'm anxious or I'm afraid, but I'll do it anyway and I'll be okay, right? And finding peace with the collective suffering that we all experience in one way or another, right? We're humans, and that vulnerability is the healing place where change starts to happen. And so that's what really resonated with me, is finding peace with my unpeacefulness. And even it's funny because leading up to this this presentation, I was getting a little nervous and anxious, and I was like, this is funny. I've done this a million times, but it's a different medium. But I found a little peace with it, and I kind of just let it be my friend. You know, I don't need to push it away. I'm familiar with it.
You did fantastic, and people will always learn from other people's stories too. So I thank you, and we all thank you for sharing that. I'm going to go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry if I went over.
No, that's okay. We were pushing it a little bit on the other ones. That's totally fine. I put in a buffer. So if you're all off of mute, if we could just give Manny a round of applause. I'm so grateful to have you here today, Manny. We did have one question there. If you want to hop on the chat, Janet had a question about the retreat. And if you guys have any more questions for Manny, we're going to go ahead and move to Kim's presentation, but feel free to go in the chat. And Manny, what is, do you want to put a contact in here at all?
For myself?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
In the chat?
Yep, you can just put your contact there. Manny, thank you so much. You're such a wonderful resource, and I'm really grateful to have you today. So.
Thank you, Lauren. It's a pleasure. Anytime.
Thank you. Thank you again. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and welcome Kim Solman. Hello, Kim.
Hi, Lauren.
There she is. Okay, beautiful. I'm so happy to have you here today, Kim. You and I, we get to talk and keep in touch a bit, which is really, really wonderful. You're such a wonderful person.
Well, thank you. You are too.
Thank you very much. One of the things that I love about Kim is that she is just naturally a healer, and she always wants to be helping everyone to find their healing, to find their balance, and just have any way of bringing the healing energy into their body. And you can feel it just by being in a room with her. Like I said, sometimes people will warm your heart or light up a room, and Kim does that. So I'll pass the presentation over to Kim. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you again, Lauren, so much for that wonderful introduction. I really appreciate that. And welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Like Lauren said, my name is Kim Solman. I am a certified Reiki master, crystal healer, intuitive healer. I do distance healings, readings, classes, house cleansings, and so much more. But tonight, what I'm going to do for you tonight is I'm going to do a chakra healing. And that includes cleansing, clearing, balancing, and aligning. And I'm also going to show you some tips and techniques and things that you can do for yourself to clear the energy, the negative energy out of your own etheric field. So for those of you who may not be familiar with chakras, they are energy centers in our body. And the 7 major chakras run from the top of our crown all the way down to the base of our spine. They are circular in shape. They also correspond to the colors of the rainbow. These chakras also regulate certain areas of our body, and they are also connection points to the world outside. That being said, the world outside, there's a lot of negative energy out there. Places like work environments, malls, or anywhere where there are large groups of people, anywhere where there's a lot of electrical equipment, a lot of electricity going on, places like that. So there are things that we can do to help cleanse and clear us. And I know the previous speakers had some wonderful, wonderful ideas as well. For example, we talked about sage and smudge as well. So you like that. And that smoke will cleanse and clear negative energies from your body. For those of you that cannot have smoke in your home or your workplace or your hotel room even, they do come in sprays. And there are all different forms, all different varieties out there. Another thing that is great to cleanse and clear the etheric field is sound. So certain sounds, the vibrations that go along with them, will again help to cleanse and clear negative energy from your etheric field. There are a lot of other things too, crystals and stones. You'll see them around me, and also I wear them as well. All these things cost money, most of them fairly inexpensive. But there is one tool out there that we use that doesn't cost a thing. Some of you may even have one of these in your home already, and if you don't, they're really easy to find, and that is a feather. So I'm going to use my turkey feather today to show you how to cleanse and clear your own energy field. So you want to start at the top of your crown and just take that feather and brush that negative energy away. Brush it off. Go all the way down to your feet. Get everywhere. Like I said, these are free. They're awesome. If you don't have one, really simple, go outside and find one. And if you don't find one your first time, no problem. Your feather will always find you. So before I begin the healing, I do want to let you guys know that I will be explaining everything that I do as I go along. Your eyes will be closed, but I will guide and tell you everything that I'm doing as I'm going along. So we can go ahead and start. And what I would like for everyone to please get as comfortable as you possibly can, whether you're sitting down or lying down. So we'll give everyone a moment to get comfortable. I'm going to put on some music here. Okay. So at this point in time, just ask that everyone please close your eyes. We are going to do a few deep breathing techniques. So with me, I want you to breathe in nice and slowly in through the nose. We're going to hold it for 3 seconds and then nice and slowly out through the mouth. So here we go. Breathe nice and deeply in through the nose. Hold it for 3, 2, 1, and out through the mouth. Again, a nice deep, slow breath in through the nose. And hold for 1, 2, 3, and out through the mouth. And one more time, nice, deep, and slow in through the nose. Hold it for 3, 2, 1, and out through the mouth. Now you can go back to your regular breathing. Let us begin. I'm going to open sacred space. I call in all of our angels, guides, and ascended masters to please be here with us all. Help and guide to release and receive. The first thing I'm going to do is to cleanse and clear your chakras with sound. And the sound I'm using is the tincture bells. Starting at the crown chakra, balancing and aligning. Now to the third eye, balancing and aligning. Now to the throat chakra, balancing and aligning. And now to the heart center, balancing and aligning. Now to the sacral chakra, balancing and aligning. Back up to the solar plexus to balance and align. Down to the sacral. Balancing and aligning solar and sacral. Down to the root. Balancing, grounding, and aligning. Down at the feet to balance masculine and feminine. To the shoulders, balancing masculine and feminine, left and right. Now scanning the chakras. Giving a little Reiki. The crown. The third eye. The throat. Solar plexus. Sacral. And the root. And closing the chakras. The chakras are now closed. We give thanks for all that was released and all that was received, and ask that this healing attunement be sealed in light and love. And so it is. You may open your eyes. I hope everyone feels a little more balanced, a little more relaxed, and a little bit better. And I thank you again so much for allowing me this opportunity to help you and to be with me tonight. Again, my name is, yes? Uh-huh.
Thank you so much. Yeah, you're welcome to share some info there.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, here, let me just turn this music off. Phew, I'm hot. But that always happens when I'm doing a healing. The solar plexus and the sacral. I just got the feeling, I hope everyone's stomach is feeling well. I just got the feeling that someone out there, their stomach may not be feeling too well. So I just tried to ease that a little bit. A lot of other things too. A lot of people, the crown was actually fairly clear for most people. And I think it had a lot to do with the other presentations that were brought forth first. What else did I feel? The throat chakra. I have the feeling that there is someone in this group who might have something to say to maybe an authority figure, and they're not really sure how to say it. There's some kind of blockage in someone's throat chakra. There is a blockage there. Also, when I was doing the shoulders, there was a definite imbalance there, in that the left side was higher than the right side, which meant there was stress there. So I don't know if anyone has any pain in their left shoulder or what's going on there, but I was able to pretty much balance that all out again. Again, not much time, but did what I could do in the time allotted. And if anyone has any questions or you want to relay any experiences, please, by all means, chime in. Or if you want to email me personally, my email is kimsohlman@gmail.com. That's KIMSOHLMAN@gmail.com. Or you can message me on Facebook.
Kim, thank you so much. And this brings me back to the same thought that I kind of started out with tonight. It was that subtle awareness. A lot of times participating in healings like this, some people will feel something and others will not. And yes, for the people that they don't feel it, that's okay. Yes. You can train yourself to feel more. Some people just naturally don't feel these things.
Yes.
So,
yes.
And that's completely fine. There's nothing wrong with you if you didn't feel it.
Absolutely. And another thing too about that is that some people don't feel it right away. So if you're not feeling anything right now, over the course of the next 2 days, you might feel a little bit different.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to scroll through the room for a moment, and you guys want to raise your hand if you did feel any of these subtle awareness, energy shifts, pain lifting, ease in different areas of your body. Just raise your hand if you felt anything. Oh wow, we got a lot.
Awesome.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'll share just a little bit of my own. So if people that didn't feel it, maybe some of these words can help you if you do go for healings in the future, kind of what to put your awareness on. You don't ever want to expect that you're going to feel something or try to feel something. You just really have to quiet your mind enough that these teeny tiny little senses come. So one that I felt was, and as she went through the different chakra points, the crown, the third eye, the throat, the heart, solar plexus is right at your solar plexus. The sacral is just above your belly button, and your root at the base of your spine. So I felt, and when you started at the crown chakra, just a tingling on the top of my head. And it's just, it wasn't uncomfortable. It wasn't like an itch. It's just an overall kind of tingling. And I felt the same thing on the third eye. And then I didn't feel too much else besides right in the heart. It was kind of like an overwhelming, not overwhelming, but all over light, warm, fuzzy kind of feeling. So those are some things that may come up. If anyone else would like to share what they may have felt or experienced, you're more than welcome to chime in.
Yeah. And Lauren too, as far as that light that you felt at the heart, that was one thing that I did do at the heart chakra. I mean, they brought it down, they brought it in, and there it was. So I'm glad you felt that too. Yeah.
Thank you for doing this. Not everyone has experienced different types of energy healings like this, but this is something I just wanted to give everybody just a little taste. I know this was quick, maybe faster than what you would have liked, but
It's okay.
to give you guys an entrance and just a little bit of how these things may make you feel better. I know I feel relaxed. I feel really good and positive and nice. And I'm going to go ahead actually and take everybody off mute. And I'd love for you all to just give him a big round of applause.
The woman that I had.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So when I left, she asked me if she could send me a Christmas card.
And Kim, you're unmuted.
Okay.
Just 'cause there was some background noise, but yeah, so it's 8:04, and thank you again to all of our presenters, to Pandora, Manny, and Kim. You guys are just wonderful to give your time and expertise to everyone tonight. I'm really grateful for your participation and kindness and all of your experiences and knowledge and wisdom. I'll keep this chat open for a little while. If you guys would like to ask any more questions, we'll go ahead and take those.